I've been asked to provide a quick tutorial about how to create an oval or slanted orbit path for a planet or an object following a path without having the object distort. And there's probably a better way to do this. This isn't something that I have memorized, but I'll show you the path that I use here. So to start off with, I have a sun, an earth, and a moon set up here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these things follow an elliptical pattern, but not a circular one, not perfectly circular. So let's add a curve. We'll add a circle, and I'm going to scale that up. And I want to show you something really quickly on about a curve. If you tab into edit mode, you'll notice you have access to all of the vertices, and you can edit it just like a lot of different objects in Blender. But if you go here to your overlays menu, you can also tell it to show the curve's normals, which if you check that box, that will show you the direction that something is going to travel around a curve. You can also go to your curve menu. Well, it's not there. There we go. Under segments, you can click switch direction if you want things to travel the other way around it. So switch direction. All right, so I'm going to place, well, first of all, I'm going to scale this curve in the x-axis so that it is an oval instead of a circle. And I'm going to place the moon on it, and then I'm going to just do a simple parenting operation. I'm going to select the child first, then the parent. So shift click, click once on the moon, shift click on the curve, control P, and then I'm going to parent it with this follow path constraint. So if I click on that, you'll notice that, sorry, I have this little curve menu down here now, and it's got this little checkbox, path animation. And we'll get to what these different things mean here in a second. But if I hit play now, the moon does actually go around that curve, but it's distorting in a really weird way. So before we fix that, let's talk a little bit about what's happening here. I have the curve selected, and in my curve properties tab, I have the number of frames set to 100. What that means is that whatever object is following this path is going to complete that path in 100 frames. So if I want it to go slower, I increase that number of frames. Let's say 240 frames to take a full 10 seconds to go around. And now you can see the moon travels much slower around the path. And it's only going to complete one revolution in 240 seconds. Or sorry, 240 frames. So that's what that does. The big problem I'm having, obviously, is this distortion. So I'm going to unparent it. So Alt-P, clear the parent. And now there's no more animation happening here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use an empty, just like we did in class, as kind of an intermediary. So if animating something to a path is determined to distort something, I'm going to have it distort something that you can't see. So Shift A, add an empty. We'll just do a plain axis empty. We'll move it up here onto the path. And we're going to have it do what the moon was doing. So click and shift click, control P, follow path. Okay, and you can see that the empty is distorting now, but we won't ever see that. So basically, it is following the path we want the moon to follow, but it's distorting. So now I'm going to select the moon, and I'm going to go into my constraints tab, which we haven't used much here. So this constraints tab has, it kind of allows you to do some of the same things as parenting, but it's a little more specific, therefore more powerful. So I'm going to add an object constraint. That's just going to be to copy the location of this empty that I just added. So what that's going to do is it just makes the moon copy the location of the empty, but it doesn't copy the distortion of the empty. So that's great. That actually kind of works. The other thing I can do now is I can spin the moon if I want, although I guess I shouldn't because the moon doesn't spin. But if I wanted to, I could animate spinning of the moon. So I'm going to right click on my Z rotation and insert a single keyframe here, and then at frame 250 or 240, wherever my end is, I'm going to just increase that rotation by, let's have it go 1,440 degrees. And I'll right click and insert a single keyframe. And now you can see the moon actually rotates as it goes around. And that rotation is independent of any parenting relationship. It's just rotating around its own axis, which the moon doesn't do. So we'll clear those keyframes. But that's how you could do that. So now, if I want this whole thing to... Oh, and by the way, I can tilt this... tilt this circle here, this curve, if I want the orbit to take another form. So now, at this point, I'm free to have this act like everything else does. I can add another empty, plane axes. We'll scale it way up, and I'm going to put that in the middle of the sun. So select the sun, Shift S, put the cursor to my selection, then select this big ol' empty, Shift S, put the selection over to the cursor, and that puts it right exactly in the middle of the sun. We'll give this a name, sun empty. And I think I will also add another empty. Oh, whoops, hold on. Let's undo that. Let's move our cursor back to the world origin. Now add another empty. And we'll call this Earth underscore empty. Okay, and what we can do now is we can rotate the sun. So we'll right click and insert a single keyframe in our Z. Let's just shorten this to 240 frames so it's an even 10 seconds. Go to frame 240 and we will change that to 360 degrees, one full rotation in 10 seconds. Insert another single keyframe. Okay, so the sun is going to rotate. And just for the sake of optics, I'm going to have the moon rotate the other direction. So we will start this empty, or sorry, the Earth rotate the other direction. We'll start this empty, also at 0 degrees. Insert a single keyframe. Go to frame 240, and we'll go minus 360 this time. Insert another keyframe so that those move the other direction. And then I can parent the Earth to this empty. So we'll just click Object there, and at first that's not going to quite do what I want. Whoops, I just have the clouds going there. So empty, okay. Let's shift click. There's my Earth, there's Earth clouds, there's the Earth, Control P, and we'll just parent those together really quickly so that the Earth just follows the clouds. Okay. And now we'll select the clouds and parent them to the sun empty. And I seem to have selected something incorrectly again, so. Okay, child on the inside, parent on the outside. Control P, object. Okay, parent on the outside, Control P, object. There we go. Okay, so now the entire planet is rotating with that empty. That's great. Let's get this ellipse also to rotate, or to go with the Earth. So I'm going to just parent this ellipse to this empty here. Oh, and then parent this empty also to the sun empty. Okay. And you can probably see the Earth isn't rotating, so we can fix that really easily. Insert a single keyframe in the Z rotation, come to the end, and let's say 720 degrees. So now the Earth is rotating all by itself around its own axis. The moon's rotating around it. The sun's rotating. Okay, we've got that ease in and ease out problem. So let's go into our animation workspace. We'll just select everything, and we will select all of our keyframes and change our interpolation mode to linear. That should fix the ease in and ease out problem. Okay, and one of the cool things that we can do here, it was mentioned, like, if we want the camera to track something in a funny way, in a cool way or something, we can actually add like another curve here. So let's have our camera approach. I'm going to tap E to extrude. Have our camera approach. And I'm also going to reverse the direction on these segments so that the camera will go the other way. We'll just kind of try to construct a cool move for the camera here. So we'll have it kind of move toward the Earth and then go around the Earth. All right, and let's move our camera onto that path. See what that looks like. Okay, and shift click to select, Control P, and we'll tell it to follow path. We'll see what that looks like. Okay, so there's our camera following the path. Let's go into our path animation and change the evaluation time. Actually, I'm going to have it be less than 240 so that the camera slows down and stops at the end. So we'll do that for 210 frames. Okay, that's great. And now I'm going to parent, let's see, I'm going to parent this path to this Earth empty so that it follows it through space. Control P, parent to the object. Okay, so our camera path is now following the Earth. And let's move our camera into a little better position too. Move it actually right down on the path there. Okay, so it's going to push in close to the Earth. And then the camera turns away. That's because the path is kind of turning away. So we're going to keyframe some rotations for it. So it pushes in close. And then it starts to turn right about here. So I'm going to keyframe its Z. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to keyframe its Z rotation, starting right here. So that it stays facing the Earth. And then I think I'll add another keyframe right about here. Add another keyframe. And another keyframe. Let's see what that looks like. So the camera pushes in. Pretty cool. So again, to reiterate, what that looks like from the top is the camera is following this path on its way around the Earth. We've animated its rotation. We've just had its position follow the path. So that's kind of cool. And a fun way to really spice it up and get creative with your camera angles and your orbits in Blender. I hope this is helpful. Have a good day.